Hello. I am jumping on live. I was going to share this in my private group, but I thought I would jump on and share it with everyone. Some of you will have seen this, some of you will have even seen it demonstrated, but maybe you don't do it all the time. And it is something that I am doing all the time now. And it is efficient ways of using a 12 by 12 sheet. Being able to get from the sheet your outer mat and the inside mat, which you can then very economically cut into 4 photo mats. So there's a bit of maths involved, or at least you need to know the measurements, and I've got them for you. But what you will need to have is a trimmer that has a point or a marker so you can see where you're coming into. Okay, so the rollerblade type trimmers I don't think will work because you can't actually see where it's stopping. Okay, for the purposes of this video though, I am going to, I think that I just did try this before, probably should pick a different colour card. Maybe I could do that. Let's try it. I'll just quickly grab a different colour card. Let's pick a lemonade just because it's at hand. The black is one that I often use, but it's hard to see for the purposes of filming, isn't it? That'll be much better. Okay, so let's go through some of the math first though. Oops, here's something I prepared earlier. Hopefully you can see that. So the whole idea is that you get a mat that you can then use for your scrapbooking. Okay, so obviously if this white was cut short at the bottom, but you'd end up with maybe a 1/4 inch around there, and instead of doing a whole piece of black and a whole piece of white, which not only weights down your album, but it's a bit of a waste of cardstock, I'm going to show you how you can cut these and then use the insides. Okay, so the most commonly used ones for your standard 4 and 6 inch photos is to have a mat that is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. So what I'm going to do is bring this up a little bit closer for you so you can see. There you go. So you've got a 1/4 inch border all around. So the way that you work out where to cut, how big this inside square is going to be, is to first decide on the size of your mat that you're going to do on the inside actually. So a 6 1/4 mat by 4 1/4 mat, the total measurements of that is 10 1/2. So I need a 10 1/2 inch by 10 1/2 inch square in the middle. So all those who are going, I don't know what you're talking about, it's the measurements and the numbers, believe me, this will become second nature to you. And I'm going to show you a demonstration. I've got one all drawn up ready. So 6 1/4 and 4 1/4 comes to 10 1/2. That means you've got 1 1/2 inches to play with from a 12 inch sheet. That 1 1/2 inches is going to be, take this away, 1 1/2 inches is going to be spread 3/4 inch there, 3/4 inch there, and that's your 1 1/2 inch then taken up same distance that way. You can actually use this too to get 4 5 by 7 mats. I bet you didn't know, if you've been cutting 5 by 7 mats, then you probably try and cut 2 and then you have only got room for 3. Okay, but you can actually get 4 from a 12 by 12 by doing the same thing. You won't have a mat around the outside. It uses up all of the paper. And some people, if you want a slightly wider one, then you're going to have 6 1/2 by 4 1/2, which is 11 inches. You're only going to have an inch to play with, which would mean a very narrow border here, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So a consideration, but that can work too. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you do all the cuts. One I prepared earlier. Let's see, what have I got here? Sticking in the way. Okay, that's just my comments. Excellent. Sorry, I can't see who's on. So the first thing you're going to do, so I'm using this option here, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. You've got 3/4 of an inch to play with on either side. So I'm going to demonstrate it in a minute on the yellow card. But basically, you're going to cut all around here, starting at 3/4 in, going to all bar 3/4 down, rotating, cut, rotate, cut, rotate, cut. Okay, so that will then give you these two pieces. You've got your outer mat. Okay, put that aside, and then you've got this left. okay? And then you're going to cut down, remembering we're starting from here, you've just got to come in 4 1/4 inches, you cut 6 1/4 down, and you rotate 4 1/4 inches, 6 1/4 down. This will make more sense when you see how easy it is to do when you're doing it, okay? So let's do it in the yellow to demonstrate. You may not be able to see the bottom of the trimmer. Let me have a look here. I wish I was just a couple of inches taller so that I could actually see on the top of my camera, which I've now mastered, better position. I think I can almost get that in. Maybe not quite. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up to 3/4 of the way in, 3/4 inches from the top. Now you don't, if anything, you want this, you don't want it to be any smaller than 10 1/4 inches. I'm a bit of an overcutter. So, so now I'm going down to 11 1/4, which is 3/4 in. Oh, that's not a good start, Wendy. Just goes to show you that I am live and human. I was too busy talking and I didn't concentrate at all and put it in the right spot first. Live to the world. Here we go. So I've gone 3/4 of the way in. You can see that from there. I'm going 3/4 of the way in from here. I don't know if you can hear my printer. It's just waking up or going to sleep, whatever it's doing. 3/4 of the way in, all the way down bar the last 3/4 of an inch. So it's down to 11 1/4. Okay, so you can see there's that 3/4 of an inch. Again, line it up at 3/4 of an inch. Take it up to 3/4. Down to 3/4 from the end. Okay, so if you've done it all the way, you'll get that piece coming right out. If you don't worry. I usually just get the scissors and snip it. Start from 3/4 away from the bottom. This has changed how I scrapbook really, or in terms of me using. This time I'm not quite there. There you go. Because I never used to put outside mats on because I thought it was overkill and too weighty, and now I mat my layouts more often than not, to be honest. I think it just finishes them off. Okay, so there you are. So there's my mat, my frame that I can use on the page, and my inside bit. So this should measure, if I've done it right, let's measure it, 10 1/2 inches by 10 1/2 inches. Tiny wee bit over, so I must have gone a little bit shallower on the other, but we'll keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to put that on 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. You remember your measurements. You put your paper on 4 1/4 and you go down 6 1/4. And then I'm going to rotate. Same again. Put it on 4 1/4. Go down 6 1/4, which will be where the last cut was. And there is mat number 1. On 4 1/4 here. And now you can see it is 6 1/4, so I don't even have to measure. Rotate 4 1/4 on there, and that is 6 1/4, and there I have 4 mats that are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and just to prove it, I'll show you. I have a 4 by 6 placeholder here, and you'll see it's going to give you the perfect photo mat. How spectacular is that? Seeing as I've already messed this one up, why don't I show you the 5 by 7? So, similar sort of thing. Put it on the 5 inch. So I'm now going to cut a 5 by 7 inch mat. Go down 7 inches. Rotate. Put it back on 5. Go down 7 inches, which will bring me to that cut line. And then you continue. Now I have obviously messed up the rest of this, but let's just pretend that I hadn't. But you'll see the 5 by 7, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and all that you waste is this tiny little square in the centre each time. That's the only wastage that you get, and I'm sure you can find a use for those scraps. So, how spectacular, how easy, how useful is that for you? Do you match your photo, your whole layout? Do you match your photos? It's great to be able to pull the same colour in. You can also, with two-tone, You could have a dark border and slightly lighter photo mats. As I said, you can adjust it if you want slightly wider borders for your photo mats, but then you're going to have a little bit less to play with. For me personally, I think 3/4 is optimal on the side because it gives me enough room to still put some adhesive on there and still have a 1/4 inch. Okay. Tell me how you find that. Tell me if you already knew about it. Tell me if you needed a reminder. I hope that's been useful for you today, and I will see you again. Bye for now.